What's up, everybody? Last night I made this dumb little video and everybody seemed to really like it. The response was really positive, and people were asking me to make more videos. So I had some free time, so I figured I would. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the right hand today. Yesterday was about the left hand. Today I'm going to talk about the right hand and getting a big sound out of the bass. Now this is pretty basic, but I've gone over this with a few friends of mine who are already really, really good bass players, and they seem to get some value out of it too, even though they're already good players, you know. And it works really well with my students, even like beginners. So maybe you'll get some value out of it. Let me know what you think. So basically, this is just an exercise to work on getting the arm weight involved in pulling a sound out of the bass, as well as to get some more articulation. So first of all, with getting the arm involved, I like to think about swimming. So when you're swimming, you know, just a normal, I don't know anything about swimming, whatever this is called, you know, freestyle, I guess is what that is. So basically, you know, you have your arm really extended, and when you do that movement, you can feel your upper back, like behind your shoulder blades, and all the muscles around your shoulder getting involved. But I don't know, at least when I do it, maybe I don't know anything about swimming, but you know, my arm is extended, but basically my hand is just open, but my forearm really isn't doing anything. It's not like my forearm is really tense, you know, it's really, for the most part, loose and extended, and all of the muscle energy that's happening is up here in the shoulder and in the back. So I like to extend the arm up and feel that, and then come forward and basically just put the string in the way and pull back with my upper arm and my back to, you know, get used to that feeling. Now, right now it's really exaggerated and big, right? Coming way out and then getting the string, you know, and you can do every string. Big movement, and then continue that, try to continue that movement as if you were going to go all the way back to the other side. So for me, this helps me do that and not use this wimpy little tiny finger muscle. You know, I see a lot of guys, you know, you see these guys playing the bass like this. And man, if your arm's not moving, if your back isn't engaged, you're just getting this tiny little sound. Not to mention that small muscles are really inefficient, which means you're putting a lot of energy to try to get the same sound out that I'm getting with very little energy, basically. And also, you might hurt yourself eventually. If you really overuse small muscles like fingers and stuff like that, you might get tendinitis or, you know, some other sort of injury or physical problem. So you got to be careful about that. So using bigger muscle groups helps avoid that problem. So part one, again, is doing this and trying to shrink that movement eventually. You know, as you get better at it, eventually the movement gets smaller. You also want to be wary that you're not letting your wrist drop as you're doing this. Sometimes you see these guys that kind of have this kind of big bouncing thing with their wrist, but that's just wasted energy. There's a good proportion of that muscle energy that's just going into moving this wrist up and down and actually isn't making it all the way into the string. So that's not helpful. So if you find yourself doing this, see if you can figure out a way to get the balance right so that doesn't happen. You know, so that you kind of maintain this line all the way down into the fingers, through the fingers into the string. So that's part one. Part two is for articulation. So again, we don't want to use this muscle. Our hand is built basically to grab onto stuff, right? Which is to say that we're basically drawing the four fingers into the thumb. So if you do this a few times, you can feel that you use muscles way back into your forearm, almost to the elbow. Whereas if you do this, there's kind of this one wimpy, tiny little thing that wiggles. But if I do this, I'm using my whole forearm and not my little finger muscles. So basically what I do is I get this movement going, and then I anchor my thumb on the side of the fingerboard there, but not behind it. Sometimes you see guys that kind of have it, if you can see it like that, they kind of grab on, but I don't think that really gives you the mobility that you need. So I've got my hand nice and open, and my thumb anchored onto the side of the fingerboard there, and then I'm doing this motion, but the fingerboard and the string are in the way, right? So with really relatively little effort and energy, you know, obviously if you don't have a good callus yet, yeah, it's going to hurt because it's going to pull really hard. It's going to pull the string super hard. So by drawing these two things together, but again with the fingerboard and the string in the way, I get a really, really nice pop. And also, if I do it at the right angle, my finger is landing on the wood and the next string, which gives you that big thump, which is great for, you know, a jazz sound when we're walking and doing stuff like that. So if I can figure out a way to coordinate this shoulder back movement with this articulation, I can get a nice big sound, you know. Now, obviously, on a computer mic, you're not really hearing much of that, but I don't know if you can tell the difference. So basically, if I just use my finger, it sounds like that. For me, the articulation is also pretty indistinct. It's not really clear, doesn't have a really good pop. And then this is just my hand. The articulation is a lot better, but the sound is still a little thin. And then if I add my arm, again, you might not be able to hear the difference on this recording, but I can hear it. And I'm sure if you do it on your bass, you'll be able to hear it too. Obviously, between strings, you have to do some changes in angles and things like that, and you have to practice each string individually until you can get a nice, even sound on every string. So anyway, that's the right hand. Maybe I'll do a new video soon about how to do the same thing with two fingers, which you can totally do. You can get the arm and you can get the hand and everything using two fingers and playing pretty fast and still getting a really, really big sound. Let me know what you guys think. Try it out, and we'll see you soon.